Hey percussionists, how you doing? Ed Breazeale from the University of Wyoming. We're going to use what I would consider a unique format to discuss this year's WMEA Timpani Etude. We're actually going to have one of our students, Cordell Costar, perform the etude, and then Cordell's going to offer his insight into how he got it where it's at right now. And then I'm also going to discuss the etude with Cordell, and then we're going to re-record him performing it a week from now and look for the improvements. So we hope you enjoy the video and find these comments and suggestions helpful.
Like to talk about is the movement from the low D to the high D. Now, a good way to practice this is a super simple exercise across the drums in groups of 3. I'll demonstrate first with the right and then with the left. Work that exercise into your warm-up every single day for just a few minutes. Bump up the tempo a couple clicks each day, and I guarantee this transition will come out a lot smoother. My final point I'd like to bring up is that I've made sure to subdivide every single roll that I play in this exercise. Otherwise, you're going to wind up in the wrong hand, in the wrong place, and then your sticking will not work.
Just to reiterate Cordell's point from a moment ago, specifically the 8th note triplet rolls, we're playing those as, or he's playing them, not playing anything in this, he's playing those as 32nd note triplets. So you can just think of them as like fast groups of 4 with a release. Something like that is the first one. In the second one, he's playing. And the point of making sure we subdivide those rolls is so that the performer has something consistent that they can lock into, and there isn't variations in interpretation from repetition to repetition when you're practicing it. The other comments I want to offer Cordell is that in his recording of it, that low D is not speaking quite as well as the F sharp and the A, and that's a function of the fact that that's such a low pitch and on such a large drum that you have to overcompensate somewhat in order to get that D to sound as loud as the F sharp and the A. Even though you may be hitting it at about the same volume you're hitting the F sharp or the A, those are just going to speak more readily because of where they are in their respective registers. Other comments are, want to make sure that Cordell is as relaxed as possible when he's playing those fast 8th note triplet rolls, because if he isn't, then those tend to sound louder than all the notes surrounding them. And we don't necessarily want them to be louder, we just want them to be more sustained sounding. Hey everyone, since this is a staccato etude and it features some dense passages, you should use hard felt mallets. However, there are a number of rolls in the exercise that should sound as sustained as possible. If you adjust your beating areas on the head, the angle of your stroke, and your finger usage, you'll be able to produce a smooth legato sound despite using these hard felt mallets. So emphasize the staccato passages by keeping your mallet heads 2 to 3 inches apart, and use the flattest portion of the mallet's head. Also, instead of letting the mallet pivot from a fulcrum, I'm going to use my wrist to produce the down strokes, and I'm also going to use the wrist to assist with the mallet's rebound. You can see there that the upstroke is almost moving more quickly than the downstroke. Also, I'm going to grip the mallet mainly with my pinky and ring fingers. And I do this in order to muffle some of the lower overtones that get produced. When you allow for less finger contact in your stroke. And you can do this if you use hanger, timpani technique, or French grip, or however you choose to approach the timpani. So the staccato technique is going to contrast with my legato approach, where I both adjust the angle of the mallet to produce a more glancing blow. So I actually deepen that angle slightly. And I'm going to use as little contact in my fingers as is possible. So actually grip with the fulcrum being placed between my middle and my thumb, my middle finger and my thumb, instead of maybe this or this. So I'm also going to widen the distance between the beating zones, which allows the vibrations to travel unimpeded for slightly longer. So doing this. So if you think about the waves you produce when throwing stones into a lake, right? Sound waves travel in a similar fashion when you strike a drum head. And when you roll, you want to make sure that each wave travels as far as possible without colliding with another wave, and thereby ensuring that each individual note of the roll sustains for as long as possible.